Hello, everybody. My name is Chummy, and we're going to kick off today with the Facilitator Learning Series, ably assisted by Hannah, Amy, and Lauren on the chat. So please get involved with the chat. Share your thoughts, share your ideas, and help each other out as I go through the session. So we're going to kick off today with a few things which are new. But before I go on with that, just reminding you that this is a series that's already had a few sessions. We've had Danny Lynn talking about how to navigate inclusion and challenges within your Unremarkable workshop. And then Lauren's also spoken about preparing for community-focused Unremarkable workshops inclusively. Now, if you haven't had a chance to watch that live, please do catch up, because these are excellent sessions that you can help you develop your Unremarkable skills as you do more and more of these facilitations. Today, my name is Chummy. I'll introduce myself in a few moments' time in a fuller way. But today we're going to be talking about marketing your workshop to, well, successfully secure an audience and all the issues around that. So these sessions are all set up to equip you to further develop your skills and your facilitation and to spread that word to other people too. So here we go, everybody. If you're not already familiar with the stuff that's already happened so far and the stuff that's happening this month, the Unremarkable week, we've got lots of things celebrating diversity, inclusion, allyship, as well as having inspirational talks and events, as well as workshops. Now, for you lucky people, if you are one of the first 500 people to run 2 or more Unremarkable workshops within this month, you get an incredible reward. So bear that in mind whilst you do more of these workshops this month. Also, there's lots of events happening across the month, including loads of virtual sessions. There's one with Venus Williams, and have a look at Anna Viner's post on that. Again, there's other things with Tom Daly, as well as other workshops. All these things you can find out more information about in the Learn and More Register tab at the bottom of the screen. Of course, there's also confidence boosting challenges with social media components that you can share on your network. And these, again, as I said, are running all through September. And this is something new for you lot, everybody. So this is a thing that's buzzing around. There's an award ceremony. Now, you can get involved in this. You can, of course, suggest categories, as well as nominate people that you want to appear in the awards ceremony. Again, more information in the tab that's just below that slide there, in the register and share and more information. Okie dokie, people. So in essence, what I'm going to cover is a couple of things that I'd like you to share, to talk about today. Lots of things going to be taking place within this month, like I said. And what I'd like to do is just cover off the kind of the agenda that I have to share with you. So with that in mind, just going through a couple of things that I like to talk about. Today, we're here to talk about how to run your workshop and to secure an audience. So we're going to start off with the preparation side of things. Preparation is really, really important. What we're going to do is go through the kind of things that's really necessary in terms of getting you ready to run your workshops, the things that will ensure success. Of course, then we're going to be talking about things about spreading that word, getting that word out to people, marketing your workshop. So talk about the channels and the kind of stuff that you can use in terms of tools. And I'll be sharing that with you in a few moments' time. Of course, then that leads to registering your attendees for your workshop. So we're going to go through some tools and some ideas around how you can register participants, attendees to your workshop. And this is really important, point 4.2. Keeping in touch with everybody that's already been in your workshop to help you to spread the word, as well as to perhaps future market your other workshops that you have in the pipeline. So with that in mind, a tiny bit about myself, as I promised at the beginning. And that picture looks, let's not go about the picture, right? So my name is Chummy. Some of you may know me, and those that don't, well, now you do. I've been a Unremarkable trainer for a little while now, and I'll talk about that in a few seconds. I've been in the diversity, inclusion, and cultural intelligence space for a long time. I've also founded and run a digital agency for 15 years, and before that, I was in corporate marketing. I work across many work streams within Google, but you know what? Don't tell anybody else, but this is my favorite. I've been with Unremarkable for a little while now, both training as well as on workshops, as well as training the trainer globally. And I've spoken to, trained, and been privileged to uh, speak to lots of you, thousands. Now, in terms of identity, I just wanted to mention a couple of things since we're in the subject matter area. I'm cis male of British Asian heritage. I'm a Buddhist. I'm not young. By that, what I mean is I've got a few years under my belt, and hopefully, throughout those years, I've got awareness of my surroundings. And with that awareness, I've cultivated wisdom to be able to do something about it. I'm well spoken, okay? So yeah, I've got a few degrees under my belt and I'm an educated man, but in essence, I'm also in touch with the streets. And I think you know what I mean about the subject matter area that we deal with as facilitators. Okay, so the main aim of this session is to give you ideas, tips, and tricks to market your Unremarkable workshops. And what I like to do is, as I said at the beginning, the chat box is there for you to get involved in a few moments when I'll be asking some questions or for reflections, your thoughts, because we're here to help each other out. And of course, you've got the questions at the end that you can ask. Um, so, what's the main purpose? Why are we doing this? Well, we found out that some people, some of our facility community have found it difficult to market their workshops. And because of this, that's led to people falling through or not being interested to do more sessions. So we're going to concentrate here to help you to to overcome these kind of things. Now, people in the past have said things like, it would be good to have support in marketing. It's not my forte, and I want to make sure that I reach as many people as possible, especially since I've left a large organization. Other people have said things like, can you recommendations on how to engage people to take part in the workshop, guidelines on where to gather crowds and for my session. And of course, people have also asked questions about, well, can we provide more information about how to promote Unremarkable workshops on social media? Well, these are the kind of barriers that we're going to overcome today with the workshop that you've kindly logged into and address all these issues. So what I like to do is, as I'm going through this workshop, like I said, get involved, people. Type away. As I said, there's Hannah, Lauren, and Amy waiting to answer or reflect upon the things you're saying. But also, please share your thoughts. So the question I'm asking here is, how are you currently finding participants for your Unremarkable workshops? Because these are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about in the next few moments. Now, you've probably heard phrases like fail to prepare, prepare to fail, and things like that. Here, I'm in essence talking about self doubt. Imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. To avoid doubting yourself, preparation is key. I don't know about you lot people, but the more prepared I am, the less worries I have, the more confident I feel. So, preparation is really, really important. And we'll talk about these elements in the next few moments. Before I do that, let me again ask you to reflect upon what you do. So, what are the steps that you do or will do to prepare for your workshops? What are the kind of things that you do so you can share with the other people on the call here in terms of the way that you prepare for your workshop? As I said, this is not even talking about the marketing aspect of it yet, just the preparation for your Unremarkable workshops. Whilst you're considering that, let me also just bring this to your attention. Before bringing your Unremarkable workshop to life, think about identifying your target audience. Now, the audience is quite clearly really, really important. So figure out who you want to deliver these sessions to and where they may be, the kind of channels that you can use. And the really important thing about all this kind of part about preparation is set yourself a date for your event. Because once you've got your date, then you can work all around it. Otherwise, again, I don't know about you lot, but sometimes if I'm just thinking about doing it, thinking about it's always worse than doing it. Set yourself a date, think about your target audience, think about the channels they're in. And this is an important thing, the practice element. There's lots and lots of stuff, as you probably remember from your Train the Trainer session, on the Facilitator Hub. And I'll go through a couple of new things that we've added more recently. But the Facilitator Hub obviously has the presentation that you'll be using. It's also got the community conversations document that's got all the research and all the background information. It's also got tons and tons of guides and notes to enable you to bring the presentation of your workshop to life. Now, an analogy I often make at this stage is looking at a menu compared to going to a restaurant, interacting with the waiter, paying for the food, tasting the food. One's theoretical and one's real life experience. So practice and do it for live. And so deliver your presentations. It might be to start off with a few close friends, or if you're already presenting, develop those skills. Now, another thing to be mindful here of is about your equipment and your tools. Quite clearly, check everything, your camera, your screens that you may be using. You might want to use two screens to enable your presentation to be more effective. Think about your background. This background here, Chummy Incorporated, you could buy that. I'm joking, but there's plenty of really nice backgrounds that you can download from the Facilitator Hub. I'll be talking about that a little bit later on. Of course, check all the things, including the tabs that you'll be using to present and the Meet link that you're there. But check your equipment, and that's really, really important. Now we're going to talk about how you spread that word. So in essence, so far we spoke about preparation. Preparation is important. Get your workshop, then you're more confident, then you've got yourself set a date. And now we're going to talk about how you get that word out to people. Quite clearly, there's lots of that stuff that you can do on social media. You can create events, for example, on Facebook, and then ask your friends to share that event with other people. Of course, you can use other kind of event management platforms that you can link on with social media, for example, Eventbrite, so you can spread that word. There are also other tools that most of you might be familiar with, tools like Canva that enable your graphics to be spiced up and make it more meaningful. Again, a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But certainly you can promote your workshops through not just your work friends, not that I'm saying that work defines you, but also communities and other kind of activities that you do in your life. So think about professional networks as well as social networks, the forums and the pages that you might be visiting. Spread the word that there's an event, and then of course you could invite people to your event too through that process. And don't forget, people, accomplishments don't speak for themselves. Tell people about what's happening, the magic that you created in your workshops. If you've been running these workshops, share photos and video of your sessions. That kind of magic moment when people realize that everybody's unique, a unique human being, and we're all remarkable. Just a little tip here: you may want to get people's permission before you use their images online. Just putting it out there. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, share on other people's community. Other people's posts, building that community within the Unremarkable sphere. It's really important in terms of how we help each other out here too, and that's why I'm encouraging people to have that discussion in the chat box. Now, as I said, loads and loads of goodies in the Facilitator Hub. It's in the branded promotional assets, and I'll refer to that in a few moments' time. These assets are on brand, they've got the message, they're customizable. For example, here I'm on the slide here, I've got a gold version, a blue version, and a teal version. You can use whichever version that's suiting the kind of message and the tone that you want to adopt when you're sending that message out to people. And of course, as I said, you can customize this, put your own images on, of course, change the dates, times, venues, and that kind of thing. So one of the moderators would have already typed in where this is in terms of the address, the URL, but it's within the Facilitator Hub. Remember that, people, and I hope you're visiting that regularly to keep in touch with what's happening and encourage you to brush up on your skills every so often. I don't know about you, but I do this quite often, but every so often, I still visit the Facilitator Hub just to see if anything's new, and most often, just to touch up on certain things. But within the Resource tab, which is in the middle of the dashboard, you've got the branded promotional assets. So have a look at that, and you've got loads of goodies there, including backgrounds as well as the stuff that I've already spoken about to enable you to promote yourself online. In terms of promotion online, we've got, of course, social media channels. And here, just a reminder about the tag handles. So social media handles as well as the hashtags. Now, reminding you that when you're talking about, for example, Twitter and LinkedIn, we've got the capital I, lowercase a, capital R for I am remarkable. And of course, Instagram, we've got the social handle there. And don't forget, just a reminder about what hashtagging is all about. Think about a conversation that you want to get involved with. Perhaps you're in, like, analogy is that you're in a room of people. Everybody's having their discussions. By you putting your hand up, it's representing a hashtag. You're driving attention to the conversation that you want to have. So let's talk a few moments here about leveraging your network. Now, quite clearly, you've got lots of things in terms of the people that you know, where they could be. So think about your network as being both professional as well as, say, your personal ones. The important thing here is that everybody that you know, reach out to them, because they can either help you to certainly market your event, but also they might be interested in attending your sessions too. So use your network to spread the word about your workshops, as well as to connect and get people to attend your workshops. But also, this is important, hopefully you'll have good family and friends as well as colleagues. They can help you to grow as a facilitator. Again, I don't know about you lot people, but I always value feedback, because feedback's really important for me to grow as a person, and I presume for you lot to do that too. So get that feedback from the attendees of your workshop. Now, in terms of map, I'm not talking about Google Maps here, people, but mapping out your network. Here we're talking about the connections that you can have. So a little thing that I'd like you to do, please, if you've got the time and the effort that you want to put into this, get yourself a piece of paper or use something like Google Jamboards, a digital device. But think about 3 people that you may know off the top of your head. On a piece of paper, put yourself down as the center point, say, and then have some branches off to the 3 people that you've thought about. And then for each of those 3 people, think about 4 people that they may be able to introduce you to. And by doing this, you can build up a network. You can map out a network. And these people could be family, friends, they could be colleagues, they could be people within your company who are champions. There could also be people that you know from communities or the hobbies that you're involved in. But that's a kind of a simple way of getting people that you may not be aware of right now, but you can start thinking about creating that network to build upon. At this stage, I'm gonna feel a little bit like a teacher, because I want you to do a little bit of homework for me, please. Identify 5 people in your network and reach out to them. Help either get them to help you to market your future events that you've got in terms of the Unremarkable workshops that you're running, or invite them onto your session. But you've got some few numbers to work with, 3 as well as 5. So a little bit of homework for you, and this will hopefully encourage you all to be able to make you think about the kind of networks that you can be forming. Now, this is the important part, because we've talked about preparation, then we've talked about how you can get that message out to people, primarily things like social media, and of course you can have the kind of stuff that you do, the face-to-face meetings that you have with people, and spread the word there. But once you do that, think about registering people onto your events, because that's a really important thing. Because by registering people, you can keep them interest, you can retain their the audience by bringing them on board. And you've got many ways of doing this. There's some proprietary software, but there's also things that you can use to manage your event. So here I'm thinking about registering, get people to register, and then I'm thinking about encouraging people to get involved through the advertising that you've done. What do you want to do with the advertising? Well, register for a course for your session. We're also thinking about aspects of the event management platforms that allow you to track RSVPs, as well as sending out automated communications to your end attendees, your end user, as it were. There are certain tools within Google that you can use. For example, Google Forms. Google Forms, you can capture attendees as well as find out what their interests and their other details are. You can use Google Sheets. Google Sheets, you can capture email addresses as well as enabling you to keep in touch with people, all in a kind of systematic way. Now, email communication is really, really important here because, you could automate some of your communication processes here. You can think about writing it out and then schedule it to send it out a little bit later on. You can also personalize your emails, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but certainly I've already spoken about how you can use the graphics that we're providing to you on brand, customize. So the message is going to be more meaningful when it's received. And of course, this means that the more communication that you have with your attendees, the more they're going to be engaged, the less they're going to forget you. And also think about emails in terms of sending it out at certain touch points. By touch points, I mean, perhaps a week before the session, send it out. A day before the session, reminding them that it's on. Or perhaps on the day of the session, send out an email notification to say, oh, remember that event that you signed up for? Come and join us. It's happening. So again, just to let you know, this is in the branded part of the branded assets part of the facilitator hub. There's lots of stuff there, including square posts, for example, if you want to use it on Instagram, on the Instagram platform. There's landscape images as well as banners. Just to remind you again, you can customize all this so it has a professional congruent message of the Unremarkable sessions that you're running. Now, we spoke about preparation, then we talked about the channels that are open to you and to propagate that, and then we talked about getting people registered, onboarded, and tracking people for your event. Now, here are a few moments I want to spend about following up your workshop. So the question I like to ask you here is, what do you do to follow up with your attendees post your workshop? Again, please use the chat to type in your reflections. It'll give some ideas to all other people on the call to work out what you lot are doing. I'm going to, of course, explore a few ideas in a few moments' time, but just sharing some ideas about what you do after your event to follow this on in terms of engagement, keeping in touch with people. One of the things, again, that's on the Facilitator Hub is a templated email. Now, you can use this email to connect with the people that you've just provided your workshop to, and hopefully you created that buzz and you've got that energy and everybody's into the kind of the feeling that they've discovered from the Unremarkable session. Here we're talking about flexing the muscle, having learned the skill, what you're going to do with it afterwards, as well as what I like to call neuroplasticity, which is in essence, using your mind as a muscle. So with that in mind, with your templated emails, you've got your facilitator ID. Just remind them if they've forgotten about it. And of course, push again for those that haven't already filled up a survey about your workshop to fill in that survey. Just a tiny reflection again here, people. The data that we collect from all the surveys that we have our attendees fill in really make a difference. So please push for that data to be collected. And you know what? That also makes a difference to you because you get more prizes the more feedback that we get. But on top of that, think about also things like sharing within the templated email. This is a part of it. Sharing the fact that people can have a look at the community conversations document, because some people might want to go into more depth. And all this you can share. So again, just reminding you, have a systematic approach to how you keep in touch with your attendees that have just taken part in your workshop. Okay, so just talking here about building a connection with your attendees. Now, you know what? You may have thought about your workshop, you're running your workshop, but use that as a kind of an opportunity to, again, market your future workshop. So within your workshop itself, mention that if you've got other workshops planned in the future, mention those events, the dates and things like that. Ask your attendees to spread the word for you. You can also encourage your attendees to share their experience. Again, as I said beforehand, achievements don't speak for themselves. And if you're not promoting yourself and all that kind of stuff, so if people are happy and have got that joy from attending your workshop, ask them to share that with other people too. Of course, you can create emails and all those kind of groups from the people that are already on your session. But the important thing is to get that feedback and to celebrate all those reviews that you'll be getting. And don't forget, the Unremarkable community on LinkedIn is incredibly supportive, incredibly helpful. You can reach out to get help, to co-facilitate and all that kind of stuff. But also, don't forget you can market your sessions on that platform too. So at this stage, I'm going to pause for a little to find out if you've got any questions for me. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to type in to the chat box or the question part, which is at the bottom of the screen. And then my moderators will pass that on to myself, and then I'll answer those questions. So fire away, people. So here we go. A question. How do I market the workshop to organizations as a bronze facilitator? How do I reach out to people whom I don't know in a better way, and the individuals can enroll for the workshop? Whether it be bronze, silver, or gold, you're all facilitators and you're all doing a wonderful, great job. And so the thing here to do is, again, just going back to the kind of things that I explored at the beginning. Think about the audience. To me, the audience is the most important thing. Think about the people within your network that this kind of thing could be relevant to or helpful. We're talking about self-promotional skills. We're talking about all the aspects of that, breaking the glass ceiling, the modesty norms, the confidence, the motivation. And then with that in mind, think about drawing up a map, and then the map in terms of who you can get in touch with. So put yourself in the middle and then reach out to one or two or three people. You find it surprising that once you start doing that, that starts the ball rolling, and you start thinking about people that you didn't even consider. So that's how I'll start doing it, and then encourage them to either physically just send you an email, that kind of thing, or use the event management process. Another question here for everybody. Can I add my own flavor when I run my Unremarkable session? Chami, we think this means, so this is the important thing, people. Of course, you've been through the Unremarkable Train the Trainer session. You know the format that we follow. But the important thing is, make this meaningful to the audience in front of you. So when you're going through the slides, bring the slides to life. So if there's a certain group of people that's going to be that you can resonate on a certain theme on that slide, talk about that slide, bring that conversation out when you're leading that discussion. Stick to the slides, because we're talking about bragging versus facts. Then we're talking about achievements. What's stopping us talking about the achievements? Then we talk about the barriers to that, and we go on to things about the open view of how we're all individual, inclusivity and diversity. Each of these sections, of course, bring it to life in front of you, so you can add your flavor to make it meaningful to the people in front of you. Here's another question. What should the frequency of sending emails to attendees be? That's a really good question, because you know what? I think we're exploring ideas around spamming, because I don't know about you lot, but if I'm getting loads and loads of messages, I'm going to turn off. So again, make it meaningful. If you've organized your event well in advance and people may have forgotten about it, then that's a time to write to them. Perhaps a day before, just to remind people, because everybody's busy and they might have it in their diary, but they may have forgotten about it. So there's not a set frequency, but I would suggest that keep your finger on the pulse and think about who your audience is. If there's a group of 10, 20 or 30 people, depending on the size of the group, you'll think about when you should write it out, those email communications out to people. Make it relevant, make it relatable, and make it timely. That's to say, a few days, certainly, perhaps the day before, that kind of thing. And then here's another one, everybody. Another quick question here. What is your own personal favorite or most creative way to market a workshop? I smile a lot. The way I do it is, when I talk about the whole thing, I make it relatable to the audience. So I think about the audience. Like I said before, the audience is the number one thing I think about, even before I think about the material and all that kind of stuff. Where they are, who they are. And then depending on that, I sometimes use social media. I sometimes reach out by sending them an email saying, this is happening. Would you like to come along? This is what I've done in the past. Or if they're not familiar with it, this is what the program is all about. But in essence, I use different tools for different reasons to attract the audience. So just reflecting that question to you, think about the audience and think about where they are in terms of the channels that they're on, or the kind of the relationship that you have in terms of whether it's outside of work or whether it's a kind of a work related network that you want to reach out to, because you could have internal systems within your own organization that could be more effective than, say, social media, depending on who the audience, where the audience is. I'm just waiting for some other questions. If you have any questions, please do ask, because I'm going to keep on answering questions if you want to ask any questions. But like I said, please also get involved in the chat function with the moderators, as well as the remainder of the others in the community. As I bring this all together, just reminding you people that there's a few things that are happening this month. So lots of things, and the URL is there, and I think that's going to be typed into the chat box too. Please get involved. A lot of effort I can see from the other facilitators that have been already put in terms of the workshops you're running, the events you're running. There's lots of activity within certainly LinkedIn to suggest this is happening. But all the kind of details is there. Just again to summarize, lots of things to help you with your marketing that we've discussed. But on top of that, we've got things like special events. First of all, reminding you, if you are one of the first 500 people to run 2 or more sessions this month, you get a reward. Again, just talking about the kind of talks and panels and all the other kind of activities. Venus Williams, a brilliant session there. And as I said at the very beginning, Anna Weiner's already posted this about this session, but get involved in that. There's also Tom Daly that's giving a talk, a speech, that kind of thing. Really good, interesting sessions. There's also the panel sessions that's on the screen right now. More of these details is in that URL at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget, there's also the boosting challenges throughout September and the award ceremony, people. If you wish, please suggest some categories, but also nominate people that you think deserve some a reward. There's lots of things happening done by lots of facilitators, as well as the other teams within Unremarkable. This is an opportunity for you to mention all those people. Now, as I end this session, I'd like you to just think about a couple of things. Move, motivate, and inspire. You've got the power, and I'm not talking about the 1980s hip-hop song, to be able to do that as facilitators. Now, the reason I do this, I don't tell anybody else, is because I've got massive amount of fulfillment out of encouraging people to get involved in their sessions, as well as doing the sessions itself. Now, this is really, really important, people. If you have a piece of paper and a pen or a digital device, take the note of this. This is really important. Have fun with the sessions you're doing, because you know what? If you're having fun, you're resonating that energy to your participants. The participants are getting engaged. You're going to have more events, and it's going to be easy for you to market more of your sessions. So with that in mind, remember, motivate, move, inspire. Whatever combination you want to say those words in, have fun. I'd like to say thank you very much for this session. And remember, if you have any ideas for future sessions, learning series, please let us know. You can use the IAR, I am remarkable, at google.com email address to communicate with us too after this session. So at this stage, I'd like to wish you all the very best of luck in your future events, and have a good one. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now. Take care. Bye-bye.